philosophy is replete with men and women who inquired in the fundamental natures of the self, along with the questions of primary substratum that defines the multiplicity of things in the world. The inquiry on self has preoccupied the earliest thinkers in the history of philosophy, the Greeks. They're the ones who seriously question myths and move away from them into attempting to understand reality. In this module, I have learned that a lot of philosophers from the ancient to his modern and contemporary world had made the quest, proved something and paved the way to understanding oneself by the reality of life. I have learned that in the ancient philosophers, they believe that man is composed of body and soul. Hence, human is dualistic, and that is composed of two important aspects of his personhood. Also, soul has three components which are the rational, spirited, and appetitive soul, enables the human person's souls become just a virtus. In the medieval philosophers naman, naniniwala sila na ang tao has a divided natures. Ang isang aspeto nito ay naghahanap ng tao ng kabuluhan at kasiyahan dito sa mundo na sadyang hindi perpekto at may hangganan. At ang isa naman ay ang paghahangad ng tao na makamit ang buhay na walang hanggan kasama ang Panginoon. Also, ang tao din daw ay binubuo ng dalawang parte, the matter and form. Man's body is part of the matter, whereas the soul is what animates the body. It is what makes us form as human. Sa kabilang banda, para naman sa mga modern and contemporary philosophers, they believe that the self is a combination of two distinct entities, which is the mind and the body. That the body is nothing else but a machine that is attached to the mind, but it's the mind that makes man a man. For Hume, the self is nothing but a bundle of impressions. It means that in reality, what one thinks is a unified self is simply a combination of all experiences with a particular person. Contradictory to Hume.
Kant believed thinking of the self as a mere combination impression was problematic. Para sa kanya, ito ay ang isip ng tao na nag-organisa ng lahat ng impresyon na nakukuha ng tao from the external world. Ngunit halimbawa ng time and space, ang idea na ito ay nakukuha or it's built in our minds that one cannot find in the world. For Kant naman, what truly matters for him is the behavior that a person manifests in his day-to-day life. Kumbaga, the self is referred to all the behaviors that people make. But it was being contradicted somehow by poetry that says that minds and body are so intertwined that they cannot be separated from one another. In conclusion, philosophers may have different understanding of the self, but the ideas where connected are not meant to understand deeper about the self by acquiring and considering the reality of life.
Hi everyone, good day, happy New Year, charot lang. Well, I am Janela Beloy, a BEd student of Surigao State College of Technology. Well, what I've learned in the subject of understanding the self. The more we know about ourselves, the better who we are in adapting life and such changes that suit our needs. The more we pay attention to our emotions and how we work, the better we understand why we do things that we did. The more we know about our own habits, the easier it is to improve ourselves. I've learned that having a clear understanding of one's thought and behavioral patterns help us to understand other people. The ability to emphasize facilitates better personal and professional relationships. ourselves is our first priority because we can set go with our life, have successful relationships, and know who we are and what we want to be. We tend to underestimate the importance of knowing ourselves. When we do not know where we are going for, and it's hard to us to set goals, get motivated, and determine the best course of action. In Module 2, I've learned the self, society, and culture. From the contemporary literature and even common sense, self is defined by the following characteristics: separate, self-contained, independent, consistent, unitary, and private. Language has something to do with the culture of the same time, have a tremendous effect in crafting of the self. Mead and Vygotsky believe that human person develops through language acquisition and social interaction. Gender is one of the important aspects of the self of ourself. Our gender partly determined how we see ourselves in the world. So I have learned a lot in the subject of understanding the self. Knowing myself to be aware of my strengths, weaknesses, likes and dislikes, observe and be aware of my moods, reactions, and responses to what's happening around me. So that's all. Thank you and goodbye.
Hi everyone, good day. I've learned that having a clear understanding of one's thought and behavioral patterns helps you to understand. This ability to empathize facilitates better personal and professional relationship. To know yourself is your first priority. We tend to underestimate the importance of knowing ourselves. Many of us go through each day, reacting to events and just getting by rather than making conscious choices based on who we are and what we want. Before we can do any of this, things we must establish who we are and these subjects, understanding the self, I have learned a lot more and knowing myself to be aware of my strengths, observe and be aware of my moods, reactions, and responses to what is happening around me, becoming aware of how these moods and emotions affect my state of mind. Thank you.
So, hi guys, my name is Jared Maglente. I am a BE Ed student. Today, I will be talking about what I have learned about the self in Eastern and Western thought. So, the Eastern thought consists of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. So, first is Confucianism. Confucianism can be seen as a code of ethical conduct of how one should properly act according to their relationship with other people. Thus, it is also focused on having a harmonious social life. The identity and self-concept of the individual are interwoven with the identity and status of his or her community or culture, sharing its pride as well as its failure. The cultivated self in Confucianism is what some scholars called as subdued self, wherein personal needs are repressed for the good of many, making Confucian society also hierarchical for the purpose of maintaining order and balance in society. The second philosophy is Taoism. Taoism is living in the way of the Tao or the universe. However, Taoism rejects having one definition of what the Tao is, and one can only state clues of what it is as they adopt a free-flowing relative, unitary as well as paradoxical view of almost everything. The ideal self is selflessness, but this is not forgetting about the self. It is living a balanced life with society and nature, being open and accepting to change, forgetting about prejudices about equality, as well as complementarity among humans, as well as other beings. The third belief is Buddhism. There are various groups who have adopted Buddhism. Thus, you may find differences in their teachings. Their core concepts remain the same. The self is seen as an illusion born out of ignorance of trying to hold and control things, or human-centered needs. Thus, the self is also the source of all these sufferings. It is therefore our case to forget about the self, forget the cravings of the self, break the attachment you have with the world, and to renounce the self, which is the cause of all the suffering, and in doing so, attain the state of nirvana, which is the state or place of great happiness. Confucianism and Taoism still situate the self with a bigger context. In striving to become a better person, one does not create a self above other people or nature, but a self that is beneficial to his community, as well as in order and harmony with everything else. As for Buddhism, the self with all its connections and selfish ideas is taken not just out of the center of the picture, but from the whole picture entirely. Western perspective does not discount the role of environment and society and the formation of the self, but the focus is always looking toward the self. You compare yourself in order to be better. You create associations and back in the glory of that group for your self-esteem. You put primacy in developing yourself. Eastern perspective sees the other person as part of yourself as well as the things you may create, a drama in which everyone is interconnected with their specific rules. The differences in Eastern and Western thoughts are the Eastern philosophy is drawn much more into groups or society or people's actions and thoughts as one in order to find meaning in life, while in Western civilization is more individualistic, trying to find the meaning of life here and now with the self. So that would be all. Thank you.
So now let's talk about the physical self and sexual self. So there are 7 topics. So the first is development of reproductive system. So I learned that the gonad's reproductive glands that produce the gametes, testes, and ovarian begin to form until about the 8 weeks of embryonic development. And embryonic reproductive structure of male and female is alike and in different stages. And the formation of male or female structures depends on the presence of testosterone. Cryptorchidism in young males cause a sterility or risk factor on cancer of the testes. Periods start between 10 and 15 years old. Rising level of gonadal hormone is testosterone in male and estrogen in female. So female has menopause. The second is diseases associated with the reproductive. So in male, uncommon inflammatory conditions are prostatitis, urethritis, and epididymitis. Tumors of the breast and cervix are the most common reproductive cancer in adult females. Also, prostate cancer for males. So that is the diseases associated with reproductive. Then the third is erogenous zone. So it is refers to the parts of the body. So the common erogenous zone are the mouth, breast, genitals, and anus. Also, the neck, thighs, abdomen, and the feet. And then fourth is human sexual behavior. So there are two behaviors. So the first is solitary behavior. Solitary behavior is self-gratification, means self-stimulation or pagsasarili. And the second is social-sexual behavior or heterosexual behavior. Only one male and one female. And psychological human sexual response is excitement phase, plateau phase, sexual climax, and resolution phase. The next is nervous system factor. Nervous system factor, the entire nervous system plays a significant role during sexual response. Then sexual problem cause to abnormal development of genital or that part of the neuropsychology controlling sexual response. And the last is sexual transmitted disease. Transmitted is infection transmitted from an infected person to an uninfected person through sexual contact. Then literally last is natural and artificial method of contraception. The contraception methods is the condom, female condom, pills, then calendar. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Evelyn Opalora, studied at ECCT Clever Extension. I am BEd student. For me, I've learned a lot about this topic, to buy or not to buy, that is the question. Because we are all living in a world of sell and shopping. For this topic, there are 4 types of material self. But before that, what is material self? Material self is objects or people or places which have the level of mind, such are instance your clothes or my clothes, reflect certain aspects of your personality. So that the 4 types of material self is first, body, which is innermost part of our material self. Second is clothes, the next of the body. Third is immediate family. And lastly is home.
Material self. I've learned that having a clear set of priorities to avoid being caught up in this world full of materialistic people. It is fine. Whatever you wear, you don't have to have expensive clothes to fit in the group. You'll find your people by being true to yourself, including your financial capabilities, as it is hard to be pretentious in putting up a fake self-image just so people will love you. You can strive hard to attain financial stability and achieve all your dreams, including the material things you wanted to possess, for as long as we don't stray away from the true meaning of life and purpose as to why we're living in this world. To sum up everything, should apply to our lives the quotation of Albert Einstein. I believe that a simple of assuming manners of life is the best for everyone. Best both for the body and mind. Meaning, a person must know how to live moderately and contented for them to assess the things that they need and want.